Well, latest census data out shows that Cook County saw the second largest U.S. population decline over the year. And 92 of 102 counties in Illinois lost residents from July 2021 to July of last year. And Governor J.B. Pritzker seems to just not believe that Illinois is losing population. So we talked a bit about population in the past, and as much as Illinois, we've for 9 years straight seen estimated population losses year after year after year. Seems to be accelerating, where 1 year, 9 years ago, was like 10,000 people fewer than the year before, and then it was like 40,000 people the year after that, fewer than the year before, and then just kept getting larger and larger to where even the estimated population decline was like 500,000 people. But then we get to 2020, and Illinois lost, on the actual documentation from the census, 18,000 people or so. That was enough to lose a seat in Congress, right? Because we all have members of Congress represent us based on our population. And then the states split up by the state legislature. They do their gerrymandering in Illinois, and you get the political maps that way. But we did lose a seat in Congress. There was speculation we could have lost 2 seats in Congress. But of course, with the 2020 COVID pandemic and the census counts, and that was all thrown into a big wild tailspin, and there were all kinds of questions about how this is going to properly be counted. So we have all of these data sets that keep coming out. It's not just the census data. It's IRS migration data showing that people are leaving the state of Illinois. It's even moving van company data that's showing people are moving out of the state of Illinois. And most recently, you've got the U.S. Census data releasing their county estimates, and 92 of 102 counties lost residents from July 2021 to July of last year. Meaning, with Cook County losing the second most residents of all counties after L.A. County in the country, and then you've got 92 of 102 counties that lost population from the year before. Obviously, Illinois is losing population. I asked Governor J.B. Pritzker if he still believes that Illinois is losing population or not, and here's what he had to say about the idea of population decline in the state of Illinois when it comes to whether or not we're actually experiencing that.
Shrinking. What can you?
That's not census data, just to be clear, right? A census is done.
County level data.
Yeah, fair enough. But we did not lose population, as you saw when the Census Bureau data came through for the 2020 census. We actually gained population. Especially as they looked more closely after the initial announcements at what happened state to state. So I'm pleased about that. I think the American Community Survey data is a little more suspect, as you know, and clearly miscounted Illinois population over the years leading up to the actual counting of people during the census, and it continues to be inaccurate in its count.
Have you ever heard back from the census, the request that you guys put in? Because they haven't changed the number. We lost a congressperson in 2020.
Yeah, they do. That is something every 10 years they do the same thing, right? They come out with the initial number. That's what they use. Partly that's because otherwise every state's reapportionment would be moved. And so they just set the number and leave it there. But we all know from the data that came out after that we gained population.
We have time for one more guy.
So Governor J.B. Pritzker is still saying that Illinois is growing despite numbers showing otherwise. Stay tuned.
From the Fly SPI Studios, take the
Oh, I got to put the microphone on. Not sure what's going on with YouTube, but apparently there's some kind of delay in processing videos. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes here. Of course, I produce the show, I schedule the guests, I run my own board, I answer my own phones, I slice and dice and edit video, and I get it ready to air, not just audio, but video as well. And we bring it all to you on this wonderful thing called the internet, where we stream at Facebook, WMAY News, but also Facebook Bishop on Air. We stream on Bishop on Air Twitter, and we stream on YouTube Bishop on Air. But afterwards, I each segment, and practically right after the segment airs, I clip out that segment. If it's an interview, if it's a caller segment, if it's a review of news happenings, I instantly upload that to YouTube. And right now I've got probably 5 different segments that are in the queue of YouTube processing them. Segments that finished uploading 2 hours ago. So I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully they get that figured out. But I did do a Twitter search. It's always fascinating to if there's a social media outage somewhere, like, Facebook down, you go to Twitter and you check hashtag Facebook down. It's all over the place. Obviously, there's a problem with Facebook. So I did go and search YouTube for YouTube processing, and there is on Twitter multiple messages from people all over the world saying there's something going on with YouTube's processing. However, I think the live stream for YouTube is still working. Is that right? Let me see here. I'm just going to go to some of the most recent. Gosh, there's so many chats on the live stream. It must be working, right? I mean, if you guys are chatting it up on the live stream on YouTube, then it must be working. So I guess it's good that it's going out on YouTube, of course. But listen, this is radio primarily. We're on the air, 92.7 FM in Springfield, but we also are streaming, not just online through WMAY.com, but hey, multimedia is where it's at, so I bring it to it, and I make it happen here. YouTube having some problem processing. I don't know what's going on their end, but we'll get some certainty, and those clips of various segments will obviously be up here soon. Let's go to a quick phone call before we review some of what Governor J.B. Pritzker had to say about the state's population, how he seems to deny that the state's shrinking. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Yeah, I've been watching you all morning on YouTube. It's working great. Everything else, who knows? Fun part is being able to pause you when I need to go do something else and then come back and push the button and watch it go again.
There you go.
And then I could skip commercials. It is interesting that we it is interesting that our government screened for 2 years. Follow the science. Follow the scientists. Follow the people who know what they're doing. Look at the statistics. Follow the data
and the science.
Follow the data.
Yeah.
And now we are back to that point that we started at, where they're saying, "Oh no, the scientists are wrong. The data's all wrong. Everything's wrong." No. They don't follow science.
Yeah.
And they wonder why we don't trust them.
Well, and it's incredible because, I mean, the governor, he's reverting back to something that was reported after the state lost a seat in Congress. And it was merely a survey result indicating that the census says they miscounted Illinois and several other states. And in Illinois, it was close to 2%. So Democrats just took that number. They're like, oh, look, we're actually at 13 million people rather than the 12.6, 12.7 that the U.S. Census says we dropped to. So they messaged the census, put a letter together, and I've talked to Senator Durbin last summer. He said they didn't hear back. I asked the governor yesterday. He didn't address that letter that they sent the census trying to get the number corrected, they said. But obviously all the indicators are we are losing population. It's not just the 2020 census. It's the IRS migration data that shows we're losing population. And it's not just that we're losing population from the migration data. It's that we're losing our top earners to other states.
Every agency, every public indicator, as well as all the private indicators, are telling us that people are leaving the state. And I can tell you, when I call U-Haul and I need to go up to Chicago and pick up records, I need a 25-foot truck. I'll call them up, and they go, we don't have any. Oh. Why? Because they're leaving the state, and they're not coming back.
That's pretty incredible. Well, yeah, and the governor, and I appreciate the call. Again, I asked him yesterday because we have new data out. Census data released this morning. And as a member of the media, we get embargoed data, so we kind of saw what was going to be released Thursday morning. And it showed that Cook County in Illinois was the second largest loser of people in the United States when it comes to counties, behind only Los Angeles. And I want to say on net, it was like 60,000, but a total of 90,000 people left Cook County. And what was fascinating when you go through all of the various counties across the country, including 102 counties in Illinois, what does it show? 92 of 102 counties in Illinois lost residents from July 2021 to July of last year. What does Governor J.B. Pritzker have to say when I asked him yesterday about, hey, there's indication more data is coming out that Illinois is losing population? Here's what the governor said.
That's not census data, just to be clear, right? A census is done. Yeah, fair enough. But we did not lose population, as you saw when the Census Bureau data came through for the 2020 census. We actually gained population, especially as they looked more closely after the initial announcements at what happened state to state. So I'm pleased about that. I think the American Community Survey data is a little more suspect, as you know, and clearly miscounted Illinois population over the years leading up to the actual counting of people during the census, and it continues to be inaccurate in its count.
Have you ever heard back from the census, the request that you guys put in? Because they haven't changed the number. We lost a congressperson in 2020.
Yeah, that is something every 10 years they do the same thing, right? They come out with the initial number. That's what they use. And partly that's because otherwise every state's reapportionment would be moved. And so they just set the number and leave it there. But we all know from the data that came out after that we gained population.
So again, Governor J.B. Pritzker seeming to deny that what everybody else is pointing at, census data, IRS data, private sector data, Illinois is losing population. And I don't know if it's just, he wants to be a spokesperson for Illinois and how great Illinois is, and recognizing that we're losing population shows that things aren't really turning around. He's been governor now for 4 years. He's going into his 5th year, and population continues to accelerate out of the state of Illinois. And the most recent data being released today from the U.S. Census looks at county-level data, and 92 of Illinois' 102 counties lost population. Cook County, the largest county in Illinois, second largest loser in the entire country behind Los Angeles. But still, Cook County is one of the most populated counties in the United States. We continue to lose population. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Morning, buddy.
Hey.
I'm glad that you're back.
Appreciate it.
I don't understand where JB gets off trying to give you some history lesson and government lesson and everything else. Well, according to census data, it's like, yeah, you didn't know that already. I mean, I don't understand why he feels the need to try to, quote, quote, school you in any type of government officiating. And yes, basically, like you pointed out, well, the population is dropping because we lost a congressperson. And is he trying to tell you that, no, we didn't now?
He kind of equivocated it and said, hey, they have to move population around and they have to reapportion somehow. So it's just a shift of the, the little miniatures on the risk, play table.
Exactly. It's basically like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Come on. What is he really trying to do here? The numbers don't lie. Everything that's coming through is accurate.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, the IRS census and all those other ones, people are leaving. If people were coming in, you should be able to lower taxes.
Well, we do have surplus revenues coming in, billions of extra dollars that was not anticipated. And the governor even says he's looking at possible tax cuts. He says he's reaching across to talk with the Republicans about it. We'll see where we're at with those conversations. But really, I've heard even more that needs to be done from the business community saying we need to, and I appreciate the call, we need to lower the cost of workers' comp. We need to lower the cost of property taxes. We need to lower the cost of doing business in Illinois, period. Because if you look at Illinois, the cost of doing business compared to some of our neighboring states, there is a disparity there. And that's one reason why the business community says as to why Illinois' unemployment rate continues to lag the rest of the nation. That's why they say it took Illinois an extra, a few years to even get to somewhat normal before the recession from 2008. It took more than a decade for Illinois to rebound. We didn't even rebound all the way before COVID came in and then rocked our world to where we're now still having to play catch up, still lagging the rest of the nation in recovery. We're still missing 40,000 jobs from what we had before the pandemic. Then you work in the latest numbers from the U.S. Census, and we're losing population. Again, Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday, when I asked him, this is what he had to say about losing population in the state of Illinois, as all indicators seem to show.
That's not census data, just to be clear, right? A census is done.
County level data.
Fair enough.
Released today from the census.
We did not lose population, as you saw when the Census Bureau data came through for the 2020 census. We actually gained population, especially as they looked more closely after the initial announcements at what happened state to state. So I'm pleased about that. I think the American Community Survey data is a little more suspect, as you know, and clearly miscounted Illinois population over the years leading up to the actual counting of people during the census, and it continues to be inaccurate in its count.
Have you ever heard back from the census, the request that you guys put in? Because they haven't changed the number. We lost a congressperson in 2020.
Yeah, that is something every 10 years they do the same thing, right? They come out with the initial number. That's what they use. Partly that's because otherwise every state's reapportionment would be moved. And so they just set the number and leave it there. But we all know from the data that came out after that we gained population.
But again, the state's counties, 92 of them losing population, according to the latest U.S. Census data released this morning. All right, Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on Double.